Welcome to Prosperity Resonance. I'm Shanae, your host. Before we begin, take a moment to notice how you're arriving here. Whether you're watching these visuals move gently in the background, or whether you're simply listening and letting the sound carry the experience, there's nothing you need to do right now. No posture to correct, no mindset to fix, no effort to apply. Just notice what happens when you let yourself be met where you already are. Because what we're going to talk about today isn't something you achieve by trying harder. It's something you begin to understand when force loosens its grip. There's a question many people carry quietly. They don't always say it out loud because it feels personal, sometimes even embarrassing. The question sounds like this: if I've done the work, if I've healed, reflected, aligned, learned, why does prosperity, abundance, wealth, and money still feel just out of reach? Not dramatically out of reach, not painfully absent, just delayed, muted, as if life keeps saying, almost, not yet. And what makes this especially confusing is that effort doesn't seem to help. Trying harder doesn't move things forward. Visualizing more intensely doesn't create momentum. And pushing through doesn't unlock the ease that was promised. Instead, effort seems to make things quieter, slower, sometimes even heavier. If that's something you've noticed in your own life, you're not imagining it. And you're not doing anything wrong. What's happening has very little to do with motivation, and almost everything to do with capacity. Now, before we go any further, I want to say this gently. If this space feels grounding or supportive so far, you're welcome to like, subscribe, and share the video. Not as a performance, but because it helps this kind of calm, long-form work reach others who are looking for something quieter and more stable. There's no pressure either way, just an invitation. Now, let's continue. There's a widespread misunderstanding about prosperity that almost no one talks about clearly. Prosperity is often treated like a reward, something you earn through effort, something you unlock through discipline, something you attract by thinking correctly. But prosperity doesn't actually respond to force, it responds to capacity. And capacity is not something you can demand from yourself. It's something your system grows into over time. This is where things begin to get subtle, because from the outside, force and capacity can look similar. Both involve action, both involve intention, both involve growth, but internally, they feel completely different. Force feels tight. Capacity feels spacious. Force feels urgent. Capacity feels steady. Force requires overriding signals. Capacity requires listening to them. Many people don't realize they've crossed from one into the other. They think they're still working toward prosperity, when in reality, their system has shifted into a phase where growth depends on stabilization. This is why pushing often backfires at this stage. Not because you lack desire, not because you lack worth, but because the system that would need to hold the next level of prosperity isn't fully settled yet. And settlement cannot be rushed. One of the most disorienting moments on a growth path is realizing that effort is no longer the lever. For a long time, effort works. You apply yourself, you learn, you heal, you make changes, and things move. Then, at a certain point, the relationship between effort and outcome changes. More effort doesn't create more movement. It creates resistance. And that resistance isn't external, it's internal. This is where people often start questioning themselves. Am I sabotaging? Am I avoiding something? Did I lose alignment? But those questions assume something is broken. What if nothing is broken at all? What if your system is simply full? Not full in a negative sense, but full in the way a cup is full before it spills. Full in the way muscles are full before they tear. Full in the way attention is full before it fragments. Prosperity doesn't pour into systems that are already stretched thin. It settles into systems that have room, space. Room to receive, room to hold, room to circulate, room to sustain. This is why prosperity often exposes instability before it creates ease. Not to punish, not to test, but to reveal what needs to stabilize first. And this is the part almost no one explains. When prosperity approaches, it doesn't arrive as money or success first. It arrives as pressure. Pressure on your nervous system, pressure on your boundaries, pressure on your sense of identity, pressure on your relationship with responsibility, visibility, and expectation. If your systems tighten in response to that pressure, prosperity slows, not because you're unworthy, but because the system is doing its job. Protection comes before expansion, always. This is why some people experience anxiety right before breakthroughs, why others feel exhausted when things finally start to move, why success sometimes coincides with emotional volatility instead of relief. The system is adjusting to a new load. And if that load is introduced too quickly, collapse follows. You've probably seen this pattern. People who rise quickly, only to burn out. People who make money fast, only to lose peace. People who gain visibility, only to feel destabilized. This isn't a failure of character, it's a failure of pacing. Prosperity without capacity feels unsafe, and anything that feels unsafe will eventually be resisted, even if the mind wants it, especially if the mind wants it. This is where motivation becomes the liability. Motivation pushes, capacity listens. Motivation says, I should be further by now. Capacity asks, what can I actually hold? Motivation fixates on outcomes. Capacity regulates the pathway. If you've ever noticed yourself oscillating between expansion and exhaustion, this is why. Expansion without integration doesn't compound, it destabilizes. And the body remembers that. So the next time prosperity approaches, the system tightens preemptively. Not because it doesn't want more, but because it remembers what happened last time. This is one of the quiet truths about growth. Your system is always choosing safety before abundance. And until safety is established at a new level, abundance remains cautious. This is why quiet phases appear. Periods where nothing dramatic happens, where urgency fades, where desire softens, where external movement slows. These phases are not empty, they are regulatory. They are the system learning how to exist at a higher baseline of stability. If you interrupt these phases too early, you don't speed things up, you reset the cycle. Later, we'll talk about how to recognize when a quiet phase is complete and what it actually feels like when capacity is caught up. But for now, it's enough to notice this. Prosperity isn't withheld, it's paced. And pacing is an intelligence, not an obstacle. Now, if you're listening and feeling a sense of recognition, not excitement, but relief, maybe excitement, but relief, that's important, because recognition is often the first sign that pressure can soften. If you'd like to stay connected to this kind of calm, long-form exploration, subscribing lets YouTube know this space matters to you. There's no urgency, just continuity if it feels right. In the next part, we're going to move deeper into how the nervous system regulates prosperity. Not abstractly, but practically. How visibility, money, responsibility, and energy in essence all interact with regulation, and why effort at this stage often does the opposite of what it intends. But for now, let the ideas settle. You don't need to agree with them. You don't need to apply them. Just notice what feels familiar. That familiarity is not coincidence. It's your system recognizing language for something it already knows. We'll continue gently from here. Now, as we continue, I want to invite you to notice something subtle. Not something dramatic, not something that demands analysis, just a gentle noticing. Notice whether your body feels more settled now than it did at the beginning. Not energized, not excited, but steadier, more coherent. That steadiness is important because prosperity is not regulated by thought alone. It's regulated by the nervous system. This is one of the least discussed and most consequential aspects of growth. You can intellectually understand abundance. You can conceptually agree with prosperity. You can even emotionally desire it. But if your nervous system does not feel safe holding what prosperity brings with it, the system will slow things down, always. Not even consciously, automatically. The nervous system's primary job is not to make you successful. Its job is to keep you alive, oriented, safe, and intact. Everything else is secondary. This is why motivation alone eventually stops working. Motivation is a mental force. Capacity is a physiological one, and physiology always wins. Now, when prosperity begins to approach, whether as money, opportunity, visibility, or even responsibility, it brings a specific set of sensations into the body. More stimulation, more decision-making, more exposure, more expectation, more demand on attention, more relational complexity. Even positive changes require regulation, especially those empowering changes, because the nervous system doesn't evaluate experiences based on meaning. It evaluates them based on intensity. This is why success feels or can feel destabilizing, why growth can feel overwhelming, why things you once wanted desperately can feel heavy once they arrive. The system is not asking, is this good for me? It's asking, can I handle this without fragmenting? If the answer is uncertain, the brakes engage. This happens quietly, subtly, gradually, often invisibly. You may notice things like a loss of urgency, a reduction of drive, a desire to simplify, a narrowing of focus, an intolerance for noise, drama, or misalignment. People often misinterpret these signs. They think they're losing ambition. They think they're disengaging. They think something is wrong. But what's actually happening is regulation. The system is consolidating energy in essence, preparing to hold more without collapsing. This is where visibility becomes a critical factor. Visibility is one of the most destabilizing forms of prosperity. Being seen means being perceived, being evaluated, being misunderstood, Being projected onto, even being appreciated, carries weight. If your nervous system associates visibility with threat, past judgment, criticism, exposure, or loss of safety, prosperity will slow and visibility increases. As the visibility increases, this prosperity will slow. Again, not as punishment, as protection. The same is true with money. Money increases choice, and choice increases responsibility. Responsibility increases load. If responsibility has historically felt overwhelming, unsafe, or tied to collapse, money will not move freely. It will approach cautiously, in increments, testing the system. This is why people often experience plateaus, not because they've reached a limit of possibility, but because they've reached a limit of regulation. The system says, this is as much as we know how to hold right now. And instead of pushing past that signal, the work becomes expanding capacity, not through effort, through stabilization. Stabilization means teaching the nervous system that more does not equal danger, that expansion does not equal loss of self, that responsibility does not equal collapse, that visibility does not equal annihilation, and that money does not equal threat. This teaching does not happen through affirmation. It happens through experience. Repeated, gentle experiences of safety at a slightly higher level than before. This is why slow growth compounds and fast growth destabilizes. The body learns through repetition, not instruction. Another area where force backfires is energy. Prosperity requires energy, not hype, not adrenaline, sustainable energy, sustainable essence. This is the kind that circulates rather than spikes. So if you rely on urgency to move forward, you train your system to associate growth with stress, and stress over time reduces capacity. It narrows perception, it increases reactivity, it shortens tolerance, and eventually the system resists growth altogether. This is why so many people oscillate between bursts of productivity and periods of exhaustion. They're using stress to fuel expansion, and stress cannot sustain prosperity. Calm essence can. But calm essence feels unfamiliar to many people. It feels slow. It feels unremarkable. Sometimes it feels downright boring. It feels like nothing is happening. But internally, something very specific is happening. Something very powerful. The system is learning how to move without bracing, without gripping, without preparing for impact. This is the foundation of prosperity that lasts. And this is why effort often fails at this stage. Effort tightens the system. Capacity relaxes it. Effort overrides signals. Capacity responds to them. Effort says, we should be further. Capacity asks, what would allow us to stay? Staying in the skill most people never learn. They know how to start. They know how to push. They know how to chase. They don't necessarily know how to remain regulated once things expand. This is why quiet integration phases matter so much. They are the periods where the nervous system recalibrates its baseline, where what once felt overwhelming becomes neutral, where what once felt intense becomes manageable, where what once required effort becomes embodied. Skipping these phases does not speed prosperity, it destabilizes it. This is why people who stabilize first often look slow until suddenly they aren't. Because once capacity is built, movement accelerates naturally, organically. without force, without burnout, without collapse. If you're listening and noticing that parts of your life have slowed, that your tolerance for chaos has decreased, that your desire for simplicity has increased, this is not regression, it's refinement. And refinement precedes resilience. Now, before we move into the final section, I want to offer another gentle invitation. If this exploration is resonating, if it's helping you make sense of patterns you felt because you couldn't name them, you're welcome to like the video. It's one small way of signaling that this slower, quieter approach has the value, and it helps this work really find others who need it. Okay, so let's move into integration. Because understanding capacity intellectually is one thing, learning how to stay with it is another. In this final part, we're going to talk about how stabilization actually feels, how to recognize when capacity is growing, and why staying present during quiet phases changes everything. And we'll go ahead and continue gently. At this point, something important may already be happening for you. Not intellectually, not as a realization you need to explain, but as a subtle settling. A sense that what you've been experiencing lately isn't a mistake, isn't a delay, isn't a failure to do it right. It's your system learning how to hold more life without bracing for impact. This is where most conversations about prosperity stop. They either stay conceptual or they jump straight into strategies. But real prosperity doesn't lock in at the level of the ideas. It locks in at the level of embodiment. And embodiment doesn't respond to urgency. It responds to repetition, safety, and familiarity. That's why channels like this exist. Not to motivate you from a moment, or not to motivate you for a moment, but to gently recondition what your system expects when it comes to prosperity. If this pace feels supportive to you, if the way this is delivered feels grounding rather than stimulating, that's not accidental. And if you find yourself wanting to come back to this kind of space, that's a signal worth honoring. This is also why subscribing matters here. Not because you need more content, but because repetition is how resonance stabilizes. So if you're finding value in this, if something in your system feels recognized rather than pushed, take a moment please to subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications, not as a task, as a way of letting your system know this is a frequency I want more of. All right. Why prosperity needs a container. Now, one of the biggest reasons prosperity collapses is because people try to integrate it in isolation, complete isolation. They have moments of insight, bursts of motivation, short-lived clarity, but no container that really reinforces the shift. Prosperity is not a single realization, it's a relationship. And relationships stabilize through consistency, through environments that don't contradict what you're trying to embody. That's why everything I create, this channel, the way it's structured, and the offerings connected to it, are designed as supportive environments, not fixes. If you ever choose to explore what I offer beyond these videos, you'll notice the same design philosophy. Nothing loud, nothing rushed, nothing built on pressure. Everything built around helping your system become familiar with prosperity as a safe, sustainable state. You'll always find those offerings linked in the description so you can explore them when it feels aligned. There's no right timing here, only readiness. Now, I want to talk about the role of sound, repetition, and trust. Sound has a unique role in how trust is built. Not trust in me, but trust within yourself. When you hear something delivered consistently, calmly, and without performance, your nervous system stops scanning for threat. That's when deeper integration happens. This is also why many people use content like this while driving, walking, or resting. You don't need to analyze every word. Your system is listening even when your mind wanders. That's the level where real change settles. Your subconscious mind. If you notice yourself returning to this channel, letting episodes play in the background, or feeling subtly different afterward, that's resonance doing its work. And it compounds over time. That's for certain. As we close our first part of episode 2, I just want to remind you of something simple and important. You don't need to rush your prosperity. You don't need to perform alignment. And you don't need to consume everything at once. Let this be something you return to, not something you try to complete. If you're curious about going deeper, about stabilizing prosperity across money, health, relationships, creativity, and clarity, you'll find my current offerings linked in the description. You can start there when it feels supportive. And if this channel feels like a place you want to keep returning to, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on so you don't miss future episodes as they're released. And this is an ongoing conversation, and you're already a part of it. Now, as you're listening, you might notice something quietly shifting for you. A realization, a question, or even just a sentence that stayed with you longer than expected. If you feel moved to, I invite you to share that in the comments. Not to perform, not to explain, just to name what you're noticing or what resonated most. This space is designed as a living conversation, and seeing your own experience reflected or reflecting it for someone else is part of how integration deepens. I really appreciate you for being here, not just for listening, but for allowing yourself to slow down enough to actually receive. We'll continue this in the next episode, and until then, let prosperity meet you at the pace your system can hold. Until next time.